Hey, it's Jeremy from jeremy.net. So, I'm going to run through all of my figure drawing work from April. I take figure drawing classes once a week at the Animation Guild in Burbank. I'm currently taking heads, hands, and feet with Carl Ganas, so there's a little bit of each of those in this stack. I run through and I'll usually make commentary on why some of these drawings, the ones I do like, I will save and use them to accompany my blog posts that I post throughout the week. Most of them I usually end up discarding. Occasionally I'll save a few to do drawing exercises on top of them, particularly poor drawings where I'm trying to understand what it is I did wrong and I'll redraw it a few times to try and understand these mistakes and learn how to draw these particular aspects better. Although I have a pretty big stack of those already, so I don't think there's anything from here that, even if I can learn a lot from, I'm probably not going to keep any to do redrawings of. So out of this stack, I don't really feel like there's anything, well, this particular page, there's anything on here that I necessarily want to keep. I feel like I at least did a decent job of defining the planes, which are kind of obvious in terms of being able to define the underside versus the side of the foot. But that's much easier when a shoe that has hard edges as opposed to feet, where it's kind of a softer rounding edge. This one I'm not going to keep, although it was interesting. It was kind of a longer pose where we're looking at the bottom of the model's shoe. And I think if I were particularly a more photorealistic artist, I probably could have done something really interesting with the bottom of that foot, because it was a long enough pose that I had time to actually draw the logo underneath on the bottom. But in general, yeah, there isn't really anything on this that I feel is, blog worthy. In fact, it would have to be a hell of a shoe for me to want to post it. I think there's some interesting drawings I've done of feet, particularly because feet are hard to draw. So if I draw a nice one, I do feel like it's something I want to keep. But you see, I think some of these are face down only because, yeah, it was a night where I actually ended up running out of paper. So by the time I got to the end of one night of class, I actually had to use the back side, but I only ended up having to use the back side of the page for like one or two drawings. When I talk about redrawing the head, I mean, for instance, this is a drawing that I did from the model, and then this one here is me doing a little diagram trying to understand, why I didn't necessarily describe the turning of the form, the cheek as well, or clearly defining the planes of the side of the head. So this one still isn't as good of a version as I would like, but these are the kind of things I do. But yeah, there's anything on this page that I want to save. Well, this head isn't that bad. For some reason, it kind of reminds me of the guy who's the star of the TV show Vikings. I may take a picture of just that one for the blog, but overall, the heads on this page don't really do much for me. And again, it's not necessarily about doing a beautiful drawing so much as if I do a drawing where I feel like I actually learned something and I accomplished something. The whole point of figure drawing class, it's kind of a safe place to fail, to do mistakes, to try and draw. Like, this is me just redrawing the same face 3 times in a row. I'm guessing that the one on the upper right is probably the one that I was actually the model posing from, and then this was me trying to analyze it over multiple times. And I can look at this and tell that these were early on in that night of the class, like the first few poses, because the first few, it takes me a while to warm up. And these are all pretty wretched. Let's see. Now see, this hand, I like this hand. It's not too overdrawn. It kind of gives you a side and top, the knuckles. I have a lot of problems with knuckles, and I feel like I did a decent job of describing them. So this hand, actually, and this is one that I feel is interesting and worth posting because it's very lightly drawn. It's an unfinished hand, but you can almost see the skeleton of the structure in there. That lightly drawn part usually gets covered up by the more detailed lines or tones that I add in as I finish. When one plane is darker, like if the top lighting is coming from the top, then usually you don't necessarily see this line because I'll have tone coming down on this side to cover up that line that I put there to kind of divide the top and the side. But I like construction drawings. I like being able to see construction lines and see the structure of what's going on in a drawing underneath. So I do like these two, and I kind of like what's going on here with the cross-contoured shading that's going on to kind of give you that sense of the leg kind of going down and away. So yeah, this whole bunch in here kind of works for me. I'll post these for the blog. And by the way, the blog I'm talking about, if you go to newsletter.jeremy.net, GERIMI.net, that's where you can sign up for my newsletter, and you can get the blog post delivered to you by email every day. And you'll just see my thoughts on art and creativity and whatever I'm working on or reading at the time. These hands are kind of interesting. This foot bothers me a lot because I feel like I kind of did the opposite of the previous page where I kind of over-rendered, trying to communicate the change of directions, too many hard lines in here as opposed to just giving a general undersurface of the foot. But this hand and these fingers kind of intertwined have something interesting going on. So I think I may post those as well. This I'm not going to post, but this was something that really got me thinking differently about figure drawing, because I still, for as many years as I've been drawing, still have trouble communicating volume. I flatten up things a little bit two-dimensionally, and I don't give them enough structure, make them feel actually solid, like a three-dimensional object with a front, top, and side. And I realized that for any form that I have difficulty understanding the volumes of, to do cross contours, to kind of draw the shape of a line. If you were to draw around an ankle in marker and to draw that line lightly, now that's to help me understand the structure. And what you actually want to do in a figure drawing is to try and find anatomical details that you can use, or actually just to do your shading in such a way that the shading communicates the work of those contour lines that you're putting on there. And I started trying to do that in a bunch of drawings. Particularly, it seemed to help me with understanding feet and understanding the surfaces and where there's bumps and then where it flattens out a little bit and then rounds out again. So that is the purpose for this drawing. It doesn't mean that it's a drawing that I necessarily want to share on a blog, but it is worth sharing with you guys because I can actually sit here and narrate and explain what I was thinking when I did it. Oh, and this is me doing a more detailed analysis of this. This must have been a night where I try to be more engaged lately when I'm drawing, and not just sitting there and passively practicing, but thinking about each drawing I do, why it does work, why it doesn't work, and if I learn something, if I actually sit there and say, oh, this is something that I wasn't doing that I should start doing. I try to make notes for myself. So what I just described to you about the cross-axis, this is me diagramming that, actually trying to spell it out in a drawing. This I will post, because what I had before was just a really sketchy little concept of it without much description. But this is something that if somebody saw this accompanying a blog post, you might look at it and say, oh, I could learn something from this. It's not really important that whether it's a good drawing or a bad drawing, because it's not a particularly good drawing, but it is what I'm going for in figure drawing class, which is to learn, to understand, and to figure out how to make things better. And that's a drawing that I would want to save for my own personal notes anyway. I ended up changing direction. I must have had my paper sideways on the board for part of this and then turned it. I like this hand. I don't like that hand. Yeah, I'll go ahead and post this. That hand anyway. I've gone away from just taking photos of entire pages. Nowadays, I will just, if there's a particular drawing on a page that I like, then I will take a photo of that for the blob. I don't really, it's rare for me to have a page where I like every single drawing on the page anyway. These are more back to head drawings. Like I said, the class is heads, hands, and feet. And I think we were doing expressions at one point. This is sort of a transition because I think this was the end of one night and then the start of another night, the next night. Or, one night and then the following week, the next night in that class. Let's see. These are some longer pose drawings. And I do like this one. I think I kind of like both of these. These are a little bit too stale looking. They kind of look almost like they're drawn from photographs instead of drawn from a real life, living, breathing person. And this one's just a little too blocky and mannequin-like. But, these two aren't bad. They've got a little bit more, they've still got the construction lines I was talking about, but they've got a little bit more life in them. So, let's see, what else? These are just wonky. This whole page, just wonky, wonky, wonky. like I say, it comes and it goes. More wonky, you know? I mean, there's times when I feel like I'm on and drawing things that look pretty good, and there's times when I feel like I'm back to like being in grade school again and drawing stuff that doesn't really, you can tell it's a human head, but it doesn't really have the normal features or proportions that a person should have. Same here. This is, God, I don't know what I was on that night. This is horrible. And then this one. The shape of the head is a little weird. Doesn't feel like there's as much neck as there should be back here. The face is not bad, though. Yeah, I'll post that one. Some more feet. And I've been trying to remember to put notes on here of how long these drawings are. Because, you know, it might be interesting if you look at a drawing and see something that is particularly finished or detailed looking, but it's like a 15 or 25 minute drawing. You know, most of the ones I have that are more finished are the longer poses. Most of the stuff we do are usually 5 or 8 minute. And 5 or 8 minute drawings, I usually don't get much more detailed than this. Mainly because I'm spending a lot of my time thinking about structure and construction lines, the type of stuff that I've been showing. Excuse me. Those are the things that I struggle with, and I feel like figure drawing is a great time to analyze those things. Pardon me for a second. I need to take a sip of water. I'm getting over a little bit of a cold. That's real life for you. All right, back to this. Yeah, some feet. They're not bad feet, but they're not blog-worthy feet. There's nothing particularly special, interesting about them. Let's see. These aren't bad, and this is interesting because of the way the foot was squishing and bending. But yeah, it just doesn't grab me. That one's not going in either. I have so many figure drawings saved up for my blog that I don't necessarily feel the need to, say, take any drawing that's decent and post it. I'm really trying to stick with something that teaches me something, or that's something I actually feel is a pretty good drawing, which is a shift from how I've done in past previous years. Let's see. This, I think, is interesting. Just me kind of deconstructing one particular expression. This is, again, like what I was saying, this was probably what I originally drew the first time. And then this is me going back and trying to, when the model takes a break, I'll usually be sitting there and I'll try to look at it and say, what did I do wrong? What did I miss? You know, changing the angle, drawing it from a lower angle and doing something more dramatic, and then looking at the planes here. Yeah, I think that this page is interesting and worth posting. Just showing that multiple iterations. Not, again, it's not that it's a good drawing. It's interesting. And this is interesting because this whole, in fact, I think this was during a break. I actually was looking at my own hand, and the way that the hand has these folds in here, and trying to draw those folds coming at you or coming towards you is challenging. And when I was sitting there looking at my own hand, the fact that I was able to convey it almost like you're looking down into a canyon, it was interesting to me. I'd never really tried to draw the hand from that angle in that pose before, and you know, yeah. Let's see. These, not bad hands, but fingers that are too long, and the connection between the fingers and the actual knuckles and palm are unrealistic and distorted. And it's kind of true for both of these, a little bit long and alien-like. So no, those aren't going in. Same here. And these are long and alien-like, but do have a sense of structure and direction. This, the ring finger is a little wonky here, and probably the last knuckle is probably a little too narrow for this hand, but I like it. It has kind of a George Bridgman feel to it. And yeah, that's it. Maybe I missed a figure drawing class one night in April because it doesn't feel like that's a ton of them, but yeah, that's all I got.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoy these videos, please like and share them. Don't forget to click the subscribe button. You can sign up for my weekly newsletter to get a free digital comic at newsletter.jeremy.net. That's newsletter.germi.net. Also, visit my main website, jeremy.net, where you can buy my comic books, art prints, and more. There's also links to my Instagram, Twitter, and other social media accounts. That's it for now. Go be creative.